Hey guys, this is yet another video from yours truly.
I've been seeing a ton of comments to my videos attempting to explain how metal is neither left nor right, but rather libertarian, as well as how the left is the establishment now and the right is counterculture. This needs to be addressed in its totality. Now, for real, this is just going to be a quick breakdown of why those specific sentiments are wrong. And to get it out of the way, miss me with your compass gradient test bullshits. There are a ton of explanations as to why they're limiting and inconclusive, etc. So you might as well just send me the results of which Scooby-Doo character you are. I just wanted to explain to the countless uninitiated metalheads who wouldn't know the difference between a waffle and a pancake.
You got the mama jeans.
How libertarianism is warped and contorted into something completely different from what it actually is and the interests it serves today. And if you'd rather not hear about dawn politics on this fine Tuesday on the town at brunch, then these gentlemen may assist you. A little bit of history. Libertarianism started in the mid-1800s as an anti-capitalist movement, primarily by anti-authoritarian anarchists, communists, and socialists. The key features of this movement was the abolishment of private ownership of the means of production and capitalism in general. Let that gestate for a little. A lot of dense, scary words being thrown around there. However, in the early 20th century, right-wing ideology co-opted the term libertarian to advocate for anarcho-capitalism and laissez-faire economic policies in order to, that's right, preserve and strengthen the private ownership of the means of production and capitalism in its most pure form. Why did it need preserving? Because of those pesky striking workers, that's why. These and today's libertarians get all piss-soaked and gobsmacked when some poor miners or factory workers have the gall to ask for some favorable legislation or, some breadcrumbs. For that would be big government, and therefore communism, which is of course terrible news for yacht owners and hair plug patients. In other words, yes, both historical usages of the term libertarianism refer to freedom of some sort. However, the original meant freedom from the oppression of private ownership and capitalist domination, whereas the current definition refers to the freedom of said private ownership and capitalist domination to dominate even harder. In fact, dominate me harder, Daddy! The divine prospect of lowered taxes veils the disturbing reality that the rich benefit the most from libertarian policy, and in turn, the gutting of public service funding that would be better spent on safari trips and yacht barnacle removal deepens the gulf between rich and poor. Total freedom of the masses from oppression, or total freedom to oppress the masses. All the talk of freedom and liberty is of course all in an ideological attempt to justify the ever-growing consolidation of wealth and power in the hands of the few under the guise of resisting government oppression. Conveniently ignored are the unmolested immense powers the ruling class enjoys from their position of wealth and influence, including influence and control over the very same government they claim to despise, as well as an abandonment of those who most desperately need any form of federal assistance, and the dialing back of environmental or food safety protections, but any mention of that is akin to stepping on snake, and wholly ignorant of the God-given right of every American to possess nuclear armaments and child what else do libertarians like? Crypto? Porcupines? Therefore, due to modern libertarianism being the most steadfast defenders of capitalist domination, and the fact that capitalist domination is the status quo of which the right wing of modern politics seeks to preserve, I'd say it's fair to argue libertarianism as being the utmost version of right-wing bootlicking and pathetic conformity to a ravenous capitalist system running amok. Sounds very metal to me. Additionally, they are too cowardly to outright admit this, so we see the Olympic-level mental gymnastics and TED Talks at play in their rhetorical disarmament strategy that includes the capitalist hegemon classic, ideological obscurantism, So it's no surprise we're at this point of muddied, mixed up political discourse. One other point regarding libertarianism: saying metal isn't right or left or even political at all, but rather libertarian, is like saying something isn't red or blue or any color. It's actually magenta. As I've said in my previous videos, metal transcends any boundaries attempted to be placed on it, being essentially a boundless expanse of potential expression. Pigeonholing metal is self-serving and pointless, so ascribing modern libertarianism to metal is no different. In fact, it's just straight up dumb. If you really meant the OG historical interpretation, fine, I can understand. But in no way are the fucking Paul doofuses the best political interpretation of metal. Next on the docket is, the left is the establishment now, the right is counterculture. I'll start with a simple question. When exactly did this reversal occur? The context here is usually an acceptance of the fact that the political establishment in the 80s was conservative under the Reagan administration. Did Bill Clinton usher in the current radical Marxist establishment? You know, with his crucial role in the illegal dissolution of the USSR and installation of US lapdog beer gut Boris Yeltsin, relentless bombing of the former socialist Yugoslavia, and targeting of inner-city minorities via his infamous crime doctrine? Or was it when Obama, the man responsible for massive military escalations in the Middle East and incessant praise of Israel, all in the name of our good old American values? We can throw in Genocide Joe here too, the rabid Zionist, racist, and anti-communist. Both are espousers of the free market and the American way. So where is the anti-American Marxism I've been hearing so much about? Most of this distorted sentiment originates from not only far-right propaganda, but from the liberal mainstream media itself. I know what you're thinking. Liberal is leftist! Maybe slightly to the left of you, but as I stated previously, the right wing of modern politics consists of those in favor of preserving the current capitalist system, as opposed to the radical left who are in favor of an alternative system. The mainstream liberal establishment likes to don a handsome smile or preach of moral superiority over the rightoids, but this does not mean they aren't just as dogmatically attached to the quote-unquote normalcy of our capitalist society. I'd say it's fair to assume that what is deemed normal in society is the establishment. What is normal? First and foremost, the capitalist system and its pervasive effect on societal norms is what's normal. This includes bootstrap rhetoric, heteronormative sexuality, non-critical attitudes on race, perpetuated bigotry, admonishment of evil Marxism, and so on. Whatever deep state Marxist cabal you think is ushering in the next dark age is doing a terrible job of spreading holy Marxist gospel. When's the last time you heard a liberal say anything nice about Castro or Lenin or Stalin? Veiled attempts at catering to minorities or kumbaya displays of acceptance are used as ways to make our oppressive capitalist structure seem a little bit more friendly when the donkeys are in charge, as opposed to the dumb, mean elephants. Meanwhile, the anti-capitalist leftists are discredited and disavowed by both sides, the blue and red ties only disagreeing in how much glitter and smiley faces they want to use when suffocating revolution. It's fairly common to hear reactionaries lambast both sides, not understanding that both sides are in reality two parts of the same side, the capitalist side, the establishment side. And yes, this capitalist establishment will utilize pseudo-revolutionary rhetoric or a colored face to diffuse potential radical revolution and make it seem like, we're with you, folks. I don't think I have to tell you guys that this is bullshit. This by no means should be interpreted as all representations of the underprivileged are just artificial handouts. And it definitely doesn't qualify the radical left as being the establishment, purely because you're forced to look at a black person. The slow and gradual acceptance of said groups is in the largest part due to the sacrifice and battles fought against an oppressive system that will resort to mass incarceration, legal persecution, forced poverty, submissive ideological indoctrination, mass surveillance, militaristic policing, pervasive propaganda campaigns, and, fan favorites, slavery and genocide, to quell such petulant resistance, again, being championed by both sides. A genderqueer individual or racial minority being allowed to exist in capitalist society does not negate the fact that that very same capitalist system is the reason why racial, patriarchal, and class supremacy is perpetuated and justified. A black man being president or having a big movie role does not change the fact that the ruling class of capitalist society arrived to their point of prominence on the backs of African exploitation and subservience, and continues to benefit from rhetorical justification and benevolent offerings of cultural awareness from their position of immense power and privilege. Similarly, non-heteronormative sexuality may be tolerated for its catchy club bangers and fashion, but never separate from its dangerous subversion of sacred gender norms and expectations. The mere mention of genderqueer existence is enough for defenders of the status quo to, at the very least, politely discuss the possible degenerative effect they have upon society, and, at worst, rile up the next round of righteous pogroms and witch burnings. In short, the visible and vocal presence of the underprivileged was and is actively fought for by radical revolutionary leftists, in spite of the liberal capitalist establishment's dragging of their heels, and doubly in spite of the conservative capitalist establishment pulling against them with the full might of normalcy on their side. Look up MLK's words regarding the white moderate. Read Land of Idols by Michael Parenti. Watch my video about Dave Mustaine and his centrist ideology. Look into the history of both Democrat and Republican presidents and notice the lack of difference in policy related to the preservation of the capitalist system. And notice the similarities in anti-communist rhetoric. Look up the Overton window, read W.E.B. Du Bois, look up Lee Atwater's Don't Say the N-Word campaign, strategy for Ronald Reagan. And if you can recognize the problems of corporations or the banks, dig a little deeper and trace those problems back to the root cause of capitalism, as opposed to blaming Jews or the minority you saw on TikTok. The more you know you know nothing. And that damn sure applies to this stupid fucking speaking goat as much as any of you. When I say read a book, I mean take some initiative to expand your already established understandings. Don't rely on a 20-minute video essay from some random anthropomorphic creature to hold your hand through this process. Although I hope I can at least help push you out the door to a broadened perspective. Anytime you say, not left nor right, but libertarian, or the radical Marxist Democrats are the establishment, you'll not only get laughed at by the actual radical Marxist leftists, but the ruling class laughs at just how easy it is to trick an average Joe like you into exactly the ideology they want to be cultivated. Thanks for watching. Share this to your dumb uncle or your smart uncle, whoever. I don't give a fuck. I want to be a little less harsh moving forward, just so I don't automatically trigger a violent fascistic reaction amongst those who may need this info the most. I know, hopium, but we gotta at least try to get our point across without being a bunch of assholes. So, I've decided to start my own party. The Baathists. Who the fuck is Saddam